found out that between 7th and 8th grade, he was exposed to weed, marijuana. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that was new. He was isolating and he was sneaking out of the house. And it was just, home life was kind of chaotic. There was no respect for us personally and no respect for the home rules. And we needed some help.
A series of events over a series of time that led us here, but for her to be here was mental health, self-harm, and suicidal ideation. Yeah.
When we came here, it was a big shock to us. Naeem had ended up in the hospital. We didn't know what his kind of secret life was and what he had been doing. He was pretty good at looking like he was doing what he should be doing for the most part. He was isolating in his room, but he's 14 and a half, 15 years old. And when I would talk to other parents, their kids were isolating in their room as well and were moody as well.
She was recommended by the residential that she was at.
Okay.
She was there to clean herself up from, some drugs and some alcohol and some bad friend choices.
My son and my daughter, they were both in therapy from an abusive relationship with dad. So Amy was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and PTSD. She started seeing a psychiatrist and she was getting medication, but it wasn't working too good. I spoke to her psychiatrist and then he said we need to find some more intense help for her. And my daughter's psychiatrist, he recommended Insight.
Ace had been hospitalized the first time and from wanting to self-harm. And I think after the third hospital visit, Ace's mother just went all out and started looking for facilities, outpatient facilities, and came across this one, and we happened to get lucky. And they just opened up. So Ace, I think, was like the second or third person signed up.
It was October of 2021, and my son was about a year and a half sober. He had started back to school in August, and he hated it. So, the people that gave him drugs there, and my husband and I became aware that even though Brandon was sober, he didn't have the skills to live life, and being sober wasn't enough. And we actually found out about Insight from 2 other clients who were going to AA meetings, and Brandon kept saying, we have to go to Insight, we have to go to Insight. And I was just like, no, you've been through enough. We came here and met Darren and Lisa, and they were just beyond awesome.
No, I'm a lifer, self-help person. Thankfully, my husband is the same. So there was absolutely no reservations about figuring out how to get our family some support. We just didn't know what was out there and available. We didn't know this whole world. But the current, at that time, Oliver's counselor, we just said we needed more support, and so he gave us the resources to check into, and Insight was one of those.
We were a family crisis, for sure, and it was we needed to do something. How we found Insight was through school. In a series of about 4 days, the name Insight came in 4 different places from 4 different avenues and 4 different people. So we were like, okay, what is this place? Let's go check it out. We need some help. But I think to me, for someone who kind of believes in science and believes in the right path, to have it mentioned to us from 4 different people, that Insight was the place to go. We were like, okay, well, we better go and check it out.
Rightly or wrongly, I was very suspicious of the whole process because, coming from the UK, To me, our health system and mental health services aren't necessarily geared towards financial benefit and invoicing and insurance. So I was kind of fairly cautious because of our own insurance situation being in the US in terms of, right, okay, so, if we go down this route, what's kind of steps B, C, D, E, and F, where does this lead us to? And purely on a practical kind of point of view, it's okay, so, what are the implications to us as a family in that, in terms of insurance and, and in particular kind of Daisy's academic record and those kind of, I was very much looking at it at a practical perspective, and that's something that through Insight I now have what I call the insight filter. So I have to kind of think about what I'm saying before I say it and try and remove myself from the logical process and move more into kind of like an emotional kind of.
He had seen a counselor online. I've seen counseling before. That wasn't an issue in terms of reaching out for that stage of help. By the time we landed here, we had no choice but to reach out for a much higher level of care because he was coming out of the hospital. I was really open for help, but I didn't know what that help was going to look like. I just knew that we needed something because I felt like we had just utterly failed at life.
Well, I didn't really know how. I'd done a lot of cold calling of psychologists and psychiatrists and that kind of stuff. And I don't know if they were overwhelmed with COVID or just not answering the phones, but I had a hard time getting a hold of anyone. So yeah, I was pretty excited somebody answered the phone.
I didn't know what to expect in their sessions. My daughter, she had 2 prior therapists, and she never connected or clicked with them, so it was really hard for my kids to open up. So here Amy connected with Nessa, her therapist, and that is one of the strongest reasons, major reasons why she has continued.
I was for it. I wanted our kid to get the help that he needed to deal with his emotions and deal with his anxiety and depression, have the right tools. And I know that these places can help guide them in a positive direction.
I was really comfortable with reaching out for help. And the fact that you guys were so welcoming, and my insurance at the time didn't cover Brandon to go to Insight, and Lisa put me in touch with Dave Leibowitz, who Dave was like the Zen master of how to get insurance that is affordable, that Insight takes. And literally within a couple of days, he got it all worked out. And you guys just couldn't have made it easier.
As a parent, the structure and consistency was really amazing. The community that is the staff as well as the families. So supportive, parent group, incredible resource, and amazing gift.
The onboarding team were incredible at laying out just the logistics of starting, the paperwork, what we needed to do. They really carried us by the hand for that. The communication was excellent. The accountability of counselors and therapists and parent group was incredible.
Insight has as a team in terms of their experience of dealing with teens and managing parents' expectations and helping parents through that journey. That's been, really valuable to have that.
I think what Insight does a really incredible job of is help each individual member of the family really look critically at themselves and think about how are you contributing to this situation.
I feel particularly supported by the other parents actually, and the parent involvement. I think that's really helpful because a lot of times people get the sense that, oh my God, I'm alone in all of this, or it's only my kid that's, kind of gone off the rails a little bit. And the staff is also really supportive. And my daughter really trusts them and will confide in them, and because of that.
The biggest support I feel here is when we get to meet with other parents and just sitting there and listening to how their weeks went. because I felt like I'm the only parent going through this, but just coming here and feeling, seeing other parents going through exactly the same things, the same, thinking the same way I was thinking, so that was a big support for me.
I mean, I love this place. I've always loved Insight ever since we started coming here. I like the staff. I think the staff, most of the time, they're really good about answering their phones and answering questions or getting back to you. I don't necessarily have a lot of questions, though, for Insight because I trust them. They've been here for a while. They have other facilities, so I trust their methods more than I trust my own.
The staff here at Insight, my experience, is different from any other place. First of all, I can text any of the therapists. Other institutions, first of all, you can't text them or email them, or you can't have contact. It's like, oh, when you're in the facility, then you can work through something. And what they don't realize is parents aren't therapists. And so when the kid is out in the home, we need support. So I really feel like it's a team, that you guys are supporting the kids, but you're supporting the parents as well.
It is really amazing to know that you're not alone. A long time ago, I heard of a phrase, and I think it really applies, which is you need the meeting or the meeting needs you. So there would be nights where I would be listening to parents talk about their situation, and I would absolutely see myself and my dynamic with my child in that of the parent, and then seeing how Darren would interact and coach that parent. It was so helpful.
At the beginning, it was really hard again to understand that we weren't there to talk about our team in parent group. It was really looking at our core issues. And once I kind of got that, it really started to work.
Initially coming in, there were a few families that were getting ready to graduate. They were like a lifeboat, to see that they were in a better place, to see their kids graduate out, and then they lent a lot of support. And they understood, because at that point in time, I felt like nobody else in my life understood, and they did. I didn't have to explain everything, because they got it. Even though their situation was different, they got it.
I really enjoy parent group. It's nice to, number one, know that we're not the only family who's going through stuff. Number two, it's interesting to compare and contrast. I know we're not, supposed to spend our time thinking about what do other people do and how's that, but it's good to see sort of a variety of issues. And my kid has run into some of the issues that other parents have talked about after we've talked about it. So that's been really helpful. It's just really good to have a space where you can talk about the things that are going on with people who get it and you don't feel really super judged.
I came in thinking parent group was about Darren explaining to us what was going on with our kids. And I got a huge wake-up call when I learned that parent group is about the parents focusing on themselves. I really honestly think is brilliant, because the problem is not the kid. It's not anyone's problem. It's really about, okay, guys, if the kid is making all these changes, but goes back into the same situation, the changes aren't going to stick. Like, the family has to change as a whole. And I have learned so much about myself.
It's still so recent that we have graduated, and I still get really emotional. It was just so important that we found Insight. I sort of feel like we were, all three of us, wounded birds, and we found this Insight nest. And throughout our process here, Insight helped us heal our wings. And now we have been set free to know that we can fly.
mean, we're 7 months in, and the change in the last 2 months has been incredible.
I have seen an improvement in the family, and my dream is that that continues and that we continue to see that kind of progress and the communication open up and Daisy in a much better place.
It's not perfect. We still have our issues. We still do family work. Naeem is in therapy. We meet with his therapist. As a family, the work is continuing. When I see Naeem struggling, I'm able to kind of step back and be like, he's having a bad day, versus, are these the signs that everything is going to crumble? When I feel like, okay, I'm slipping back, I kind of have a moment where I stop and say, like, what am I doing here? How can I repair this? That it's not broken, it just needs repair.
She came to Insight from a residential, and before she went to the residential, it was, oh my God, it was really, really bad. There was a lot of yelling, a lot of disrespect. She was using stuff. And so it made it really hard as a parent to sometimes just kind of take a few deep breaths and not react. And so now that she's in a better place, the whole dynamic has changed, and because of that, it's we both know how to step back and take some breaths now, and so her learning those skills has been really helpful.
Communication and just educating us, like in therapy, family therapy, just going over like depression, the symptoms, how it shows in their behavior, all this just eye-opening for us, like, and just techniques on how to like deal with, even when my daughter, if she has like an anxiety attack, she can call Nessa, and they're always available, so that is comforting,
I like the fact that my kid has somewhere to go, something to do, peers that he likes to hang out with. That's been the most helpful thing, is having other kids he can relate to and talk to and open up to.
What's awesome is our life now as a unit is really good. There's good communication. There's stuff that the kids need to work on in therapy, and also that's old stuff that they never processed. And so I'm really looking forward to them working their stuff out with us, to where it can be really, our relationships can be really clean and free in the present.
The biggest thing, just looking at my own core issues, just so much. Come at things from curiosity. Like, oh, that's interesting that my teen might be reacting that way. I wonder why that is. And then for me, oh, that's interesting. Why am I thinking that? Why is that judgment coming across? Or why is that behavior? Or why do I want to control something? I think, that's one of the really biggest, so far, 7 months into the program.
I've kind of struggled with that whole aspect of it a bit, because I was saying earlier, I'm very much more kind of a logical and practical person. So part of what I've learned is that I need to step away from that. I'm more aware of it, and I made a reference to my insight filter. So often when I'm thinking, oh, this is what I'm going to say, it's like, hold on a minute, just run it through the filter. It's like, and then actually something completely different is more relevant and more helpful to that situation. So I'm trying to be aware of that, and I don't always get it right, and I make lots of mistakes, and Darren's often said, as you're exploring this and getting to grips with it, it is uncomfortable, and I can confirm that yes, it is. It feels like you're bumping around and not always getting it right, but I think I am moving in the right direction.
I have put to practice all of the things that I was taught in school, and so it's reiterated things that I have known before. It's given me a space to practice those things. It's given me a space to observe those things being practiced, but theoretically, I haven't learned anything.
Personally, have learned that my past and the way I was raised, it definitely affects how I raise my kids, because we have these ideas, and somehow we just pass them on to our kids, or just parenting styles, stuff like that. That's what I have learned.
I just want to say the biggest gratitude for the work that you're doing, that everybody here at Insight does. It's so important and vital, and like life-saving. You're saving lives, and I can't be more grateful for that, so thank you.
The biggest thing is trusting the process and knowing that, just allowing the program to work for us rather than go against it, or when things get hard feel like you want to just run. Yeah, and I think that's where the magic has come, or the change is coming, is when we're allowed to kind of be in that valley.
Yeah.
And then you can start seeing the benefits of doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're going to get out of it what you put into it. We've been here for a little while, and so I've seen people come and I've seen people go. And you will get out of it the work you put in.
It is time consuming, like you have to devote a lot of time to it, but I honestly think our kids are worth it, and at first when we learn like all the activities that take place and all the time that they have to be here, it was a little overwhelming, but now we start to see the fruits of that hard time that we put in, just like juggling with time and being here for our kids, and just in meetings, and so it all pays up.
Whatever it takes, you got to find your happy place, whether it's art or music or reading, nature. If you have a happy place that you can go to or, dive into, those problems don't affect you as much. You distract yourself from them a minute and, or you use that emotion that those problems give you and put it into it. That's some of the best music was written because of people's girl problems, or, some of the best art were from people who fell in love or brokenhearted, so those emotions can power us to do amazing and creative things.
I love Insight because they really look at the well-being and the growth of the teen, and they really understand what it takes. Like, a kid is not going to come in here and in 30 days, be like all better. I think it takes a couple of months for them just to feel safe, to work on their stuff. Brandon is now over 3 years sober. He's going to be graduating high school in a couple of months. He's got 3.9. He wants to be a drug addiction therapist. So he's going to go to college for that, and could not have envisioned that, a year plus ago.